What is up, everybody? My name is Andrew, and today is a very exciting day because, as you can probably see in the title, Space Engineers 2 was just officially announced. This morning, the Space Engineers official channel dropped a video titled Concordia Research Facility for Modular Engineering, and this is the official Space Engineers 2 announcement. They show off a couple of really amazing things, which we're going to talk about, and then at the end of it, they drop Space Engineers 2. Creation and destruction never felt this good, and guys, I'm excited. If you want to watch the video for yourself, there's going to be a link to that in the description, but let's talk about what they showed off in this video and what we can expect in Space Engineers 2. So the video starts off by showing a bunch of ships flying around and a cool research facility, kind of like what we've seen in the past teaser videos that they've released. The scene cuts to an engineer running through a hallway, and then we see them start to use the 25 centimeter unified grid system. So if you don't know, the unified grid system is a new Space Engineers 2 V-Rage 3 thing that they're doing, where you don't have just large grid and small grid now, you have just grid, just one grid. So let's say you place down one large grid block, you can then place a smaller grid block on top of that and like around it in order to do some more detailing. And then if you want an even smaller grid, that's what they're talking about here with a 25 centimeter grid. This is kind of, if you could imagine, a tiny grid. So large grid, small grid, tiny grid. Now you have that as an option to do some detailing. And they actually show that off here. When they place this door, they actually place these tiny blocks around the door as detailing. After they show that off, they show off something amazing, which is the ability to undo things that you've done in the game. So let's say you've placed down a couple of blocks, you can now hit Control Z or whatever it's gonna be, and you can undo that action up to what it looks like, I don't know, probably 10 undos that they do here. Now this is obviously a game changer. I don't know how many of you have placed something or deleted something only to have to go and spend another 10 minutes trying to fix that issue. Now you can just hit the undo button. That's an amazing addition, and I love it. In the next scene, you can see what I mean by the unified grid system, where they're actually using these tiny blocks on a bunch of larger blocks to do some detailing. But they're doing this to show off the next really cool feature, which is the ability to do partial copying of a grid. The demo here shows them highlighting this area of the grid little by little until they get exactly what they want, and then copying just that piece and pasting it onto another part of the grid. I can't tell you how big this one is. In the past, you'd have to go in and make tiny grids for each thing you want, and then copy that and paste that where you want, basically making a template to copy and paste everywhere. Now you can just put it on the grid, and if you decide, hey, I actually want 2 more of those things, you can just highlight that, copy it, throw it in a different section of the build, and you're good. This one is, of course, a game changer, and it's going to be really cool to use this feature to create tinier blueprints of partial objects on a grid. Next up, they show some of the painting. This one I'm very excited for. It's kind of funny to see. They've added the paint gun into Space Engineers 2. So if you don't know, the paint gun is a mod for Space Engineers 1 that adds a little paint gun, so you don't run around just magically painting things. You have to actually use a paint gun and paint to paint things. And it really shines in painting things that are behind other blocks. So in normal Space Engineers, if you try to paint a block that's behind another block, it gets a little bit tough because you can only paint the one that's kind of above. But with the paint gun mod, you can actually paint things that are below an object, like behind another block. If you've never used it, I urge you to try it out because it really is an amazing mod, and it's cool to see that they're adding this to Space Engineers as well. In the UI there below the paint gun, it does show that you have the option to paint just a single block, and you also have the option to paint all, which I'm imagining means paint the entire grid. Maybe not, I don't know. It looks like it's bound to left mouse button hold, so I can imagine that being troublesome. If you accidentally hold click on a certain block for too long, it might paint the entire grid, but I could be wrong about that. I would be very happy to see them change up the controls a little bit for painting, because it seems like right now it's very easy to accidentally paint your entire grid if you control shift click, which you could do if you're control clicking and then accidentally try to run while you're doing that. You could accidentally paint your entire grid. So if they change up those controls, I'll be happy with that. Now, as far as the UI goes, I wouldn't take too much stock in the UI, what we're seeing here in this video. You can see in the top left, this is an alpha. A lot of the UI looks, to me, a little bit debuggy. If you look over to the left with the health, the power, the oxygen, and the hydrogen, it's got all those little ticks. It looks like kind of a debug version of the UI. I could be wrong about that, and if I am, I'm sorry for whichever artist out there did that one, but yeah, I wouldn't take too much stock in the actual UI in this. The gameplay that we're seeing is in alpha, so keep that in mind. The teaser then goes on to show a little bit of destruction. They have a destruction tool that they can use for debug purposes, but it shows a lot of the really cool destruction that they're adding in Space Engineers 2 with the power of V-Rage 3. You can see kind of blocks flying everywhere as they destroy little parts of something, and it looks really good. I love it. Now, I don't know how this is going to come into play when you're trying to repair something. Suddenly, it looks a little bit harder to repair blocks than it did in Space Engineers 1, but I guess we'll find out how that's going to play out. I can imagine a little bit of heartbreak if you come out after a battle and you see, you know, bits and pieces of your ship flying around, but it's gonna look cool. So I'm excited to see how that looks. They of course end the teaser with the official Space Engineers 2 announcement. I love this logo. It looks really good. It's a clever having 2 engineers right there and then putting the 2 in there. That's really nice. And then finally they end it with showing that there's going to be a Space Engineers 2 reveal live stream on Thursday, December 19th. At 6 p.m. UTC. So make sure you're there for that one. I don't know what that's going to entail, a Space Engineers 2 reveal. This was sort of, I guess, a Space Engineers 2 announcement. Maybe they'll show gameplay and where they are. I can imagine some of the footage in this is older, or Space Engineers 2 is just in like a really early alpha state. As far as I can tell, we don't have any indication of when the game might come out. If I were a gambling man, which I think I might be, I would say it's probably going to be at some point in 2025. My guess would be, I don't know, let's say October 2025. That's my official guess for when Space Engineers 2 might come out. But again, as you can see in a lot of this footage, this is all very alpha footage. The game needs, you know, more. A lot of what they've been showing off before this has been work on the V-Rage 3 engine. So this is kind of the first time they're actually saying, hey, we're working on Space Engineers 2 alongside this, even though the other teaser videos kind of hinted at that, where we saw a new engineer, we saw the unified grid system, we saw all this stuff where they're kind of, you know, it's like they're saying, hey, it's V-Rage 3, but look, this is also Space Engineers 2 blocks and stuff. Now they're finally saying, hey, we're actually working on Space Engineers 2. So if you want to hear more information on that, of course, be there for the live stream on December 19th. I may or may not do a video after the live stream, depending on what they announce. I'm going on vacation a couple days later, so we'll see what happens. But let's talk about some things that Space Engineers 2 is going to have. So first of all, of course, we have the unified grid system. That's a huge game changer, especially for, you know, detailing if you're doing greebling. In fact, you can see in the ship in this teaser trailer, you can see that it's got some really cool greebling in these kind of grooves that it has on the side. You can see there's kind of pipe looking things. It's got all these tiny blocks interwoven into this design, and it's really cool. In fact, you can also see that the R01 on the ship, the lettering, it's not using the Space Engineers letters that they added for Space Engineers 1. This is actually using tiny blocks, a bunch of tiny blocks kind of in the design of a letter, which is really cool because that means you can use your own sort of font. If you have the creativity to actually design it with those tiny blocks, you can really do whatever you want. If you don't speak English, for instance, you don't have to put English lettering on the side of your ship. You could put, for instance, Hangul. If you speak Korean, for instance, or if you speak Japanese, you could put characters on the side. All you have to do is design it with these tiny grids. So that's actually a really cool change, and I love to see that. That might be an unintended thing, but it's kind of a really good unintended consequence with having these tiny blocks and the ability to make lettering out of that. So very cool. So obviously, unified grid system is going to be huge, and if I had to guess, it's probably going to be the biggest change from Space Engineers 2 to Space Engineers 1, but I could be wrong because they have showed off some tests with water on the V-Rage 3 engine. Now, they haven't showed specific Space Engineers 2 gameplay when it comes to water, so it's possible that the water is not really in the alpha version of the game yet, but they have showed off tests when it comes to having actual water on planets, you know, water that can actually go through gaps and stuff like that. They've showed dams, for instance, a big dam with a hole in it and water coming through. So actual water physics are going to be amazing. And I can't wait to see that in any Space Engineers 2 reveal or something like that, but that's definitely something to watch out for when it comes to Space Engineers 2. Aerodynamics as well. They've showed tests with the V-Rage 3 engine handling aerodynamics. That's going to be huge. Lighting changes. V-Rage 3 has the ability to scatter lighting with ray tracing. This is something that wasn't present in V-Rage 2 for Space Engineers 1, but you can see a lot of the scenes, even in this reveal trailer, show windows where you can very clearly see there are really nice reflections kind of showing what's behind it and stuff like that. So that's going to be another huge thing to look out for in Space Engineers 2. And of course, on top of lighting, I have to say the models in this teaser video look amazing. And I probably don't even have to say that Space Engineers 2 is going to have lots of updates updated models and very good looking things. Although it could just be that the lighting is playing them up a little bit. You know, lighting is half the battle. So when it comes to improved lighting, you kind of see improved graphics on everything else. Now, this is mostly all that I wanted to talk about. The Space Engineers 2 official announcement. It's very cool, but I want to point to some things that I've seen in this trailer as well. And this is probably me just speculating or just looking at things and wondering what the connection is. Maybe put the tinfoil hat on for this one. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, but let's take a look at this. The side of the ship reads R01, and the top of the base here in this photo for the reveal stream also shows 01. So I wonder if there's something to be said R01, if it means something, or if it's just the call sign of this base. Are they trying to hint at something? Maybe, maybe not. The other curious lettering that I've noticed is NAPIR. That could be something that I don't understand. Maybe it's something that they've already explained, or maybe it's something that they've just put in the background for someone to be like, I wonder what that is. I see it. NAPIR. I don't know what that could mean. No access per indigo reason. I have no clue. NAPIR, does that mean anything? Apparently Napier was the Elamite god of the moon, derived from the word nap, which is kind of funny. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. It could just be the ship name is the Napier. But anyways, takeaways from this video, Space Engineers 2 is officially announced. We've got partial copying, we've got unified grid with 25 centimeter grid, tiny little grid things. We've got really cool destruction. We've got the paint gun, and there's gonna be a live stream on the 19th of December, 2024, where we'll of course learn more. That's gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one, and let me know what you think about this down below in the comments section. Are you excited for Space Engineers 2? Are you hyped that it's announced? What did you see in the video that I missed? Let's have a conversation down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.